In today's video, we'll be diving into prevalent misunderstandings surrounding climate change, particularly from a U.S. perspective. As the conversation around this critical issue continues to evolve, misconceptions abound, leading to confusion and inaction. We'll tackle a range of topics, from the belief that climate change is merely a natural cycle to the notion that it has no impact on U.S. agriculture or health. Join us as we unpack these myths and shed light on the reality of climate change and its far-reaching consequences. 1. Climate change is just a natural cycle. Many people believe that climate change is merely a natural cycle that the Earth undergoes periodically. It's true that the Earth's climate has changed over millions of years due to natural factors like volcanic eruptions and solar variations. However, the rapid warming we've seen in recent decades doesn't fit the pattern of these natural cycles. Scientists attribute this accelerated change to human activities, particularly the burning of fossil fuels and deforestation. These actions release large amounts of greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide, into the atmosphere, trapping heat and causing the planet to warm at an unprecedented rate. Unlike past climate changes, which occurred over millennia, the current changes are happening within a human lifetime. This rapid shift poses significant challenges, as ecosystems, weather patterns, and sea levels are all being affected. Understanding this distinction is crucial in addressing the real causes of climate change effectively. 2. Climate change is a hoax. The notion that climate change is a hoax has been perpetuated by some, despite overwhelming scientific evidence to the contrary. A vast majority of climate scientists agree that climate change is occurring and is largely driven by human activities. Organizations like NASA and the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, have published extensive research supporting these findings. These experts use data from satellites, weather stations, and ice cores to study climate patterns and trends. This scientific consensus is based on rigorous analysis and peer-reviewed studies, not on political agendas. Dismissing climate change as a hoax undermines the efforts to mitigate its impacts and protect future generations. It's essential to trust the science and acknowledge the reality of climate change to work towards viable solutions. 3. Climate change doesn't affect the U.S. Some people might think that the United States is immune to the impacts of climate change, but this is far from true. The U.S. is already experiencing the consequences of a changing climate through more frequent and severe weather events. Hurricanes in the Atlantic have become more intense, causing significant damage to coastal communities. The western states are facing unprecedented wildfires exacerbated by prolonged droughts and higher temperatures. These events not only threaten lives and property but also strain emergency services and infrastructure. Additionally, climate change affects agriculture, water resources, and public health across the nation. Ignoring these impacts can leave communities vulnerable and unprepared for future challenges. Recognizing that climate change affects the U.S. is a vital step in implementing effective strategies to mitigate its effects. 4. Climate change is only about temperature. While rising global temperatures are a significant aspect of climate change, they're just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Climate change also encompasses changes in precipitation patterns, resulting in wetter regions experiencing more rainfall and drier areas facing prolonged droughts. Sea level rise, driven by melting ice caps and thermal expansion of seawater, threatens coastal communities and ecosystems. Furthermore, climate change leads to an increased frequency of extreme weather events, such as hurricanes, floods, and heat waves. These changes disrupt natural systems and human societies alike, impacting agriculture, infrastructure, and wildlife. Understanding that climate change involves more than just temperature helps to grasp its full scope and the importance of comprehensive adaptation and mitigation strategies. 5. Renewable energy is too expensive. A common misconception is that renewable energy sources, like solar and wind, are too costly to be viable alternatives to fossil fuels. However, technological advancements have significantly reduced the costs of renewable energy. In many cases, solar and wind power are now competitive with, or even cheaper than, traditional energy sources. The decrease in cost is largely due to improvements in technology, increased production scale, and government incentives. Additionally, renewable energy provides long-term savings by reducing reliance on imported fuels and decreasing environmental and health costs associated with fossil fuel pollution. Investing in renewable energy creates jobs and drives economic growth, making it an attractive option for both environmental and financial reasons. Recognizing the affordability and benefits of renewable energy can help accelerate the transition to a sustainable energy future. 6. Climate change is a distant problem. Some see climate change as a problem for future generations, not realizing its effects are already being felt today. Rising sea levels are encroaching on coastal communities, leading to increased flooding and erosion. More intense storms and changing agricultural patterns are affecting food production and supply chains. These impacts are not just theoretical predictions, they are observable changes happening now. Communities across the U.S. are grappling with the consequences, from farmers dealing with altered growing seasons to city planners addressing increased flood risks. Recognizing climate change as an immediate issue is crucial for taking timely action to adapt to its impacts and reduce future risks. It's not just about preparing for tomorrow, it's about addressing the challenges we're facing today. 7. Climate change is just a political issue. While climate change often finds itself at the center of political debates, it is fundamentally a scientific and environmental issue. Addressing climate change requires cooperation across political lines, focusing on evidence-based solutions that can effectively mitigate its impacts. It is not about political ideologies but about preserving the planet for future generations. Scientists, policymakers, businesses, and individuals all have a role to play in addressing climate change. Collaboration and innovation are essential for developing strategies that balance environmental sustainability with economic growth. By viewing climate change as a collective challenge rather than a divisive issue, society can work together to implement meaningful solutions that benefit everyone. 8. Climate change doesn't affect agriculture. The belief that climate change doesn't affect agriculture overlooks the significant challenges it poses to food production. Changes in climate patterns lead to shifts in growing seasons, impacting crop yields and agricultural productivity. Water availability is also affected, with some regions experiencing more droughts and others facing increased flooding. These changes can stress crops and livestock, leading to reduced food supply and higher prices. Farmers must adapt to these challenges by implementing new farming practices and technologies. Climate change also affects pest and disease patterns, further complicating agricultural management. Understanding the impact of climate change on agriculture is essential for ensuring food security and developing resilient farming systems. 9. Climate change doesn't affect insurance. The increasing frequency and severity of climate-related disasters have significant implications for the insurance industry. As hurricanes, wildfires, and floods become more common, insurance companies face higher claims and financial risks. This leads to increased premiums, making insurance more expensive and, in some cases, unaffordable for homeowners and businesses. The unpredictability of climate-related events makes it challenging for insurers to assess risk accurately. As a result, some areas may become uninsurable, leaving communities vulnerable to financial losses. Addressing climate change is vital for maintaining a stable and accessible insurance market. Recognizing the link between climate change and insurance can help drive efforts to reduce risks and promote resilience. 10. Climate change doesn't affect human health. The impact of climate change on human health is often underestimated, yet it poses serious risks. Rising temperatures contribute to heat-related illnesses and deaths, particularly among vulnerable populations like the elderly and those with pre-existing health conditions. Wildfires release pollutants that worsen air quality, leading to respiratory problems and exacerbating conditions like asthma. Additionally, climate change affects the spread of vector-borne diseases, as warmer temperatures expand the habitats of disease-carrying insects like mosquitoes and ticks. These health impacts highlight the need for public health initiatives that address the challenges posed by a changing climate. Understanding the connections between climate change and health is crucial for protecting communities and ensuring a healthier future.